The following video, we're going to explore polygonal modeling techniques by trying to replicate this complex piece of modern furniture. Let's begin. Before I do anything in my viewport, I like to analyze basically what I'm looking at, and just to kind of give me an idea of what I'm going to try and do to kind of solve this problem. So we're looking at something that has somewhat of a complex shape. It has a bit of an S shape. Not only that, but it's made of at least 3 or 4 different pieces. It has a main kind of base piece, and then like a cushion part, and then just a couple cushion kind of pillow thingies that are on top. So basically my approach to this is going to be starting by creating the base part, and then which is going to be one piece as an S shape. Then I'm going to make a copy of that, and that's going to be what I'm going to be using to create these cushions part that's right on top of it. And then I'm going to follow along and start cutting them into different pieces. Again, I'm gonna have to kind of start making sure that it's one piece first, and then kind of cut the different pieces to make sure I can do this. So let's begin. I'm gonna start by creating a primitive my viewport. I'm actually going to start in my perspective. So let's see, primitives. I need to point out that I'm using marking menus, and my screen capturing software is not really showing them. But that's the way that I was able to create my cube, and it was by using my marking menu. If you want to figure out how to do that, please look at the video called my creating customized marking menus. So I'm going to need to change the shape of this a little bit. It's a little bit too big. So the depth of it, I don't really need it to be that big. In fact, something kind of trim like this is fine. The height of it can be about 1.5 feet, and the width about 3 feet, maybe 4. Maybe 1 foot for the height. Alright, so I'm going to proceed and go into my top viewport, and I need to find my and I'm going to use a spline tool to be able to draw out the shape, the S shape of this piece of furniture. So again, I'm using my marking menu here. So let's see, I have one for curves, and this one's gonna be the Bezier. So I'm just gonna start kind of drawing out what that shape looks like, which is something along these lines. And I can always go in here and just kind of move my points around a little bit. So something along these lines. I'm also going to go ahead and maybe turn my geometry a little bit. Kind of wanted to follow the same kind of direction as my spline here. One thing I could do is actually snap it along the, so I know it's actually in the center of it. And I'm gonna switch to my perspective. Let's see, it didn't snap the way I hoped, but I need to make sure that this spline is actually in the center of the face that I'm about to extrude. And again, I can go into my top viewport to make sure that's the case. I really don't want it intersecting with my polygon. That could give me some interesting results, so I'm just gonna make sure that it's right here. Again, to make sure that it's following along this, I could snap it one more time. Alright, and then just kind of move it back a little bit. Go back to my perspective view. Okay, that's gonna work just fine. Next thing I'm gonna do is select a face in my polygon and select the spline that I want to extrude along. And then I'm gonna go and select my extrude tool. Sorry. So that's my extrude, and again, it kind of took my face and just kind of extruded along, but it's not really following the shape of my spline. And the reason for that is because by default, the extrude along the spline it has one subdivision, so we actually need to give it more divisions in order for it to be smoother. I think something like this will work really well, as a matter of fact, and it looks like it's actually following the shape that I want. The next thing I'm going to do is actually make a copy of it so that I can actually use that for my top part right over here. So one thing to keep in mind when you extrude along a spline is that there is a dependency between the original vertex that we drew and my polygon here. So if I were to manipulate my curve, my geometry is going to follow along as such, and perhaps I don't want that dependency to be there anymore since I already have what I want. And again, the reason for that is because if, for instance, if I move my spline, it's going to affect the way that my polygon looks like this. I can move my geometry just fine, but the moment that I move my spline, it's going to completely mess up my model. So I want to get rid of that dependency by going to modify sorry, edit, and delete by type, and I want to select history. So now the dependency between the spline and the object is no longer there. I don't need the spline anymore. So I'm going to do Control D just to duplicate this. Okay, and that's going to be my top part. Alright, so let's start creating some of the detail of the base part of this couch. As you can tell, it's basically this part right here, and this, and the backing of it. It's basically one piece with this kind of laid on top. So I want to try and create that. I'm going to start by inserting a couple loops. So I'm going to go into my insert edge loop tool, and this right here is going to be mostly for the backing of it. In fact, that might be a little bit too thin. I'm going to do something like that, and here I'm actually going to make a copy of the one that I just changed. Gonna make it easier for me to actually shape the cushions to follow that shape. So on the top one, I want to go into my top viewport. Again, I want to do this in my orthographic. On this one, I want to make sure that I delete these polygons over here. I'm just gonna go, and again, I'm deleting the polygons on this one because this is gonna be the cushion part that's on top of the main base part, and I think I just deleted way too many. I think it's about there where I want it to be, because as you can tell, the backing right here kind of stops here, and then just basically this cushy part. So let's just kind of change back into my perspective. I'm also gonna turn on my wireframe unshaded so I can see what's going on with my geometry at the same time. And then on this one, I'm actually going to delete a couple more faces on the one on top. Okay, then I'm going to take the bottom one and I'm going to select these faces. And I'm going to extrude them up. So, extruding things up as such. And I messed up because I missed one of my faces. So I gotta make sure I select that. Come on. Alright. So I'm going to try the extrusion one more time. Alright, so we have the top and bottom part at this point. And I want to go into my cushy kind of section here and kind of fix up this geometry a little bit in order to not kind of be messed up by the fact that I have this older one right here. I'm just going to go ahead and isolate this piece and just kind of work on it individually. So this part I'm basically just gonna go into my mesh menu over here and just kind of fill a hole. And again, it's gonna be doing some weird stuff like this. And the problem is that we don't really have enough resolution for it to kind of maintain that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of bridge some of these faces for this, and let's see, you actually find it under your edit mesh, and I'm just going to click on bridge right here. Let's see if I do a fill a hole, it's going to cover that part, and it did. But at the same time, I actually have to come here and kind of connect a couple of components, and again, it's just to keep a nice flow of my geometry. So let's go into right here. Just gonna go ahead and really quickly just connect these components. Oops. And basically what I'm doing right here is that I just I selected my connect components tool and then I'm just repeatedly clicking on G to redo my last command. I think I also need to get rid of a little bit of geometry over here because it's gonna be intersecting with my couch, and I already did that right there. Alright, so this concludes the first part of this video, and on the next one we're going to start working on some of the detail.